Well, good day, everybody. Welcome to the Lifetime Training Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Stella, and I've got the one and only Mr. Ian Montell. Ian Montell is a 20-year veteran as a PT. He was a manager. He's been a subject matter expert, product development, and is currently the product manager at NESM for the last 5 years. And today we are going to dive into his latest course that he, kind of put all together and was driving and starting to launch here. I believe it was a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month, on virtual training.
Yes.
This is where we're at, folks. And if you ain't jumping on top of this virtual training thing, I think either you're going to be left behind or you're not going to maximize your ability to make, the money that you can make, because now you can go anywhere and you can get people anywhere. So welcome to the show, Ian. I can't wait to get into this content.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jason. I'm super excited to be here, share some knowledge, but really discuss about the future of training, where we're headed, and as you said, stuff that we can't ignore anymore. We're here, it's upon us, and we've got to take the bull by the horns and drive it forward.
Awesome. And obviously we're going to give you some great content today, but it's also part of a bigger program that NESM has, like I said, recently launched as an official certification. And it's not only as we've talked, and I'll let you hit on it, but it's not only for the trainer. It could be for the nutrition coach. It could be for a physical therapist. It could be for a mental wellness or psychologist. It's anybody who's going to be actually learning how to actually deal with people, in a virtual environment, correct?
Yeah, it is. And that's going to be the continual update iteration that we have in regards to this particular course. With the content that we've got coming up is really focusing not just on personal training, but the whole idea of this new realm of coaching, so to speak. So it comes right off the heels of our certified nutrition coach course and ties really nicely into the direction we're all going when it comes to fitness. We aren't just personal trainers. We aren't just people who give fitness advice anymore. We're really those well-rounded coaches. But going forward in the new area we're in and what we've been forced to with the pandemic, there's a lot of other folks out there who could benefit from this. From my own perspective, I've had a couple of my doctor appointment physicals this year that have been done in a virtual setting. So a lot of professionals are having to work through this new space, and how do you connect with somebody, build a rapport, coach, give advice, and get that lifestyle buy-in that you need. That's going to be really vital as we continue to go forward this way.
Awesome. And, as we said, it's a skill, guys, and it's a different skill, just as many trainers got into this business wondering about program design and diving down that background. And then they're like, wait a minute, I got to sell something and I got to do that. So, take it all in. Let's dive into the content and let's just start right from the beginning. I mean, first and foremost, why did you guys decide that, it's time, we got to do this quickly? I mean, obviously the pandemic hit, but I think it's a little bit broader than that.
Yeah, it is. And this is something that we've been working on. So Mike Fonagrassi over at NASM and myself have really been exploring this for about the last 2 years now. And so we had a good idea of what we wanted it to be, but then the pandemic hit. Everybody had to go home, and it was really looking at what do we need to do in order to support the professionals, but be able to support your clients that are out there, and really make sure that they're able to stay active, stay reaching their goals, meeting their goals, and whatnot around that. So we just kicked it into high gear, sped it up in order to get it done. Ultimately, we built this course in 3 months. It's the fastest course that we've ever built, which was super exciting for us to set a new record from that perspective. But it was
the only problem with that is it becomes the expectation now.
Right, exactly. Which is,
how that business goes, right?
We have to maintain those expectations. But we just saw the need with this was the way the industry was going, and the pandemic just put us there much faster than anybody had anticipated. But there were a lot of folks who were experimenting with this space and trying to figure it out. We've just wrapped it up for you, giving you the tools that you need, the information that you need in order to take it to the next level and make it a successful part of your business.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, why don't we dive in and,
Yeah.
you started the course. I got the chance, and thank you so much. I got a chance to not go through the whole thing, obviously, but get through what I can in the time from, booking to, doing this recording. And, it just kicks off the qualifications. What are the qualifications of being a virtual coach, things that you need?
Yeah, at a base, you have to have your entry level qualification. So personal training, your CPT, if you're working with athletes, like your PES from the NASM perspective, if you're in whatever profession you're in, like the base certification, the base knowledge, that's what you're going to need. This just adds on to that and gives you an extra skill set, more knowledge, dives into the technology components you're going to need, how it is you build that rapport through a video screen, how you can coach and cue somebody through that screen in order to get them to what you need to do. It's refining a new skill set. But as long as you have that base education, that base information, you're going to be just fine. Yeah.
Well, and to add into that, it's, so many people, obviously, I think if they're getting into coaching, they may have that cert, but at the same time, it's the experience, because, if you haven't ever engaged with somebody in person, your ability to do that through a video screen, if we want to clearly delineate, there's virtual training where it's the me and the coach, or if I'm the coach, the client, and we're on a video screen like we are right now, doing through Zoom or whatever the portal that you have. And then there's the online coaching where I'm sending out a program and they're doing it on their own. And, there's millions of different apps or different ways to be able to drive that, or somebody's just going old school Excel. So obviously the ability to cue and coach and pick up on movement, it's in some cases might be a little bit harder. I think in some cases it might be actually easier and cooler if I've got the video, especially if I'm recording it and they're allowing it to me, because I can go back now and start to see things, and go back and look at that and maybe assess what's going on in their movement. And we'll get into some assessments topics a little bit later. So outside of the certification, what else have you found as, things that you really want to make sure you have before you start to engage?
Yeah, and I think you hit on a couple of really great points, because moving into this realm, we have the opportunity to leverage technology and use it to your advantage. But there's also some pieces that you have to refine, because you just don't have the ability to do what it is you've normally done in that live setting or face-to-face in person. So from a technological standpoint, absolutely, you can have somebody record themselves doing an overhead squat or doing a push-up, whatever exercise that you want to have them perform. And you can, with some of the apps that are out there, you can slow that down. You can take screenshots, you can draw on them to really emphasize the points in cueing that you want them to be able to see, and where you want them to be able to fix things and adjust things. So that becomes very easy for us now. The difficult piece is if you are a very a kinetic instructor, kinetic trainer and teacher, and you like to demonstrate things a lot, or you're using your two-finger touch and whatnot to coach and guide somebody through that, your verbal cueing skills are going to become far more important right now. It's going to be beyond just a solid demonstration unless you have the setup to do that. And you're not going to be able to, if somebody's doing a row, put your fingers between their shoulder blades and say, hey, pinch my fingers. That's gone. So what are you going to do to communicate that effectively and get people into the right positions? So it really is that new skill set that if you haven't refined it in person, you're going to have some growing pains, but you're going to have to figure out how to refine that as well, which in a lot of ways, the community, the fitness community, is going to become a huge support for you. Even just going out to the community and asking, how are you going to coach somebody in this situation or cue them through this exercise? Check out those resources that you have at your fingertips.
Yeah. And I think, where, we've seen this with people who maybe they're deaf or they're blind or something, where the other sense starts to elevate. And I'm using that as an analogy in that I think that this could help actually refine the skills in person, because obviously if you are just solely a kinetic or a touch and feel, or maybe, you're used to cueing that way. Now you can't do that. So when you come back, you're going to be able to be even better in person. So I think, that's something that I think, I'm hoping that people adapt to and take advantage of, because, and the other side, I've said it probably 10 times over the podcast that I've done, is it's a skill, folks. Like, it's a skill that's going to require you to actually practice and put reps in until you become good at it. So again, start that now. You're almost behind the 8 ball, because now we're moving towards, hopefully, the tail end of this thing where, you can really skyrocket your business and again, your ability to reach more people. So awesome. Anything else, like at a baseline qualifications that you have?
Yeah, I'd say the other key piece is going to be just that overall communication and rapport building. It's easier to do that in person, because we are a connected species, and so it's much easier to connect with somebody through a screen. It can feel kind of cold or distant if you don't approach it the right way, especially when you're trying to get new clients. Your older clients, you've got that rapport built in, you can have that banter and whatnot, but when you're building your business and getting new clients in the door, it's just a different style that you have to really get that connection with them. So, going along with everything else, it just ties together of refine those practices. If you're still able to do it in person and in the gym, definitely work on that now. But the obstacles you're going to have to overcome through virtual coaching, virtual training, are going to only enhance and improve your ability to do the same thing in person once you get back to the facilities.
Yeah. And, the thing also that came to my mind as well through all this is, if you're trying to get new virtual clients, like you were saying, it might be, you might want to take a step back and maybe say, okay, I've had X, Y, and Z clients for 2-3 years. They trust me. I've built the rapport, like you'd said. Let me test it with them. Let me refine my skill with them, because they know who I am. They know what I am in the real deal. They're going to be a little bit more tolerant, where if you get a couple amazing new clients and you're not, kind of at least up to par and practiced, that experience might not be good, and they're going to leave you. And then you're going to start to lose clients. And then that could be a snowball that could, negatively impact your business as well.
Right. It's almost like you're re-entering the industry again for the first time and really trying to cut your chops and whatnot. So yeah, I agree. Take that first step with the clients you currently have, refine those skills, get them knocked down. The other thing is working with clients that you really, really trust. Ask them for feedback and work with them and just say, hey, this is new for me. I got to build these new skill sets. It's a little bit uncomfortable, whatever it is. If it's somebody that you definitely trust and you have had that long-term relationship with, ask them for feedback. Yeah. It will only help you to grow as a professional and get to where you want to be.
Yeah. And maybe even taking it a step back even more and just saying, okay, I'm going to do it with, a family member or somebody that, you hopefully really trust and they'll give you that real straight feedback, especially I would say, remember the first time you told your family at a holiday that you became a trainer, and they're like, oh my God. And the next thing you know, they're just sitting there, asking you question after question after question. I'm like, I don't really want to talk about this. This is family, right? But you end up doing it. So this is a perfect time. You got that time to get with your families, hopefully, and go through and be able to kind of dust off anything that you have that's not right. So
absolutely.
Moving on, so that was some great, just again, starting point. But you mentioned in the course, and it goes through, but if you can give them some details here too, of character traits that you've identified through the research and through putting this thing together that, that the successful virtual coach has, and you should make sure that some of these you can develop, some of them you may have.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to be yourself, just like you are going to be within the live training. The more authentic you can be, the better it's going to come across on camera, the better it's going to come across in your communication, and the better you'll be able to connect with somebody. So that's going to be number one. I think there's also this misnomer that virtual training and virtual coaching is going to be easier for somebody who is more of an introvert than an extrovert. And that's not necessarily the case. We're all going to have to get used to this and get used to the new real world. So there's not really a differentiation between those types of characteristics. Your organization may have to improve depending on how you do things, because you are going to be working in a home office potentially. You're going to have to just change the way it is, even where you are at in your home environment and how you're operating there. If you're tend to be a little bit of a messy person, making sure your background is cleaned up and whatnot to get things taken care of. But overall, when it comes to the difference between somebody who's going to be successful in this realm and somebody who isn't, it's going to be those who are ready and willing to adopt this new realm, this new area, those who are going to be looking at adopting the technology and looking at how they can leverage that. Yeah. I think that there's been a resistance among the fitness professionals in the fitness industry, thinking that technology is going to replace us all. And I've believed for a long time that it's not going to replace us all. It's going to be those who figure out how to leverage it and use it to their advantage that are going to be successful. And now we're here in this situation. And so it's up to us to figure out what technology is going to be best for us as professionals, what technology is going to be best for our clients, how we're going to interact with them to support the business. But we just have to look how to leverage it.
Yeah, I would imagine that you were there, and I want to bring this up as a slight tangent, but I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago. Our founder, Lifetime's founder, Bahram Akradi, did the keynote at the Optima conference. And I remember sitting there, and we didn't know what he was going to talk about. And I remember sitting there in the beginning, and for like the first 15, 20, maybe even 30 minutes of his talk, he was talking about like old school agriculture and AI. And we were like, what? Where is he going? Like, what does this have to do with fitness? And he masterfully whipped that thing around to talk about traits and the worry of AI, taking over the industry. And at the end of the day, I mean, he went through a bunch of things, but he talked about love, compassion, and the connection. That is something that AI is never going to have. And he also said that back in the day when there were people that used to manually work on the farms, and then the technology of the combine came in, those that learned how to either work the combine or those that understood how to actually repair the combines were the ones that thrived. And the other ones who sat back and said, woe is me, they were the ones that lost their jobs and didn't do very well. And I think it was a phenomenal analogy to say, this is not an either or thing. It's an and thing. Yes. That the AI is going to be able to help you program probably better because it can masterfully get through a lot more algorithms than this thing can, typically. But then your ability to connect with them and the ability to motivate them and your ability to show love and compassion and empathy and all those different things that AI is never going to do is what will always keep the connection in the industry. I thought that was great.
Right. No, and that is exactly where we have to go. And it was a great message. I think for all of us as professionals, people, your clients are going to come to you and they're going to stay with you and they're going to be fans and advocates, loud advocates of yours, if you show that compassion, that empathy, that you are here to help them and help them reach their goals, change their lives. That is going to be the same in a digital virtual environment, maybe even more important, because it becomes a lot easier to disengage with somebody through a screen than it does in person. So we really have to, if you're not in it, and I know we've all said this, we've all heard it, if you're not in this for your clients, if you're not passionate about your clients, you're not going to make it. This new world we're in, it's going to become even more important as we continue to become more disconnected. We have to find ways to connect deeper with people, and it's not always easy through a screen.
Yeah. Well, and I think the ability to, and maybe we'll touch on this, but it came to mind is, the ability to brand yourself obviously it's easy to get a background like I've got back there and slap that on there if you have your personal brand or you work for another company. And then if the client allows you to record, you can take little snippets of that, and now you can post that on your social media, and it's your ability to market becomes, you have content, you have things that are there that easily allow you just got to take the time to, edit it and make it look professional. But I think that's a whole nother avenue of your ability to get yourself out there that will help as well.
Right. I mean, we're all trying to do that in one way or another anyways. When we look at Instagram and Facebook and the social media, trying to become some type of fitness influencer, even if it's at a local level, we've all been doing that for years. Now we're just going to have to do it in a different way and really demonstrate our capabilities and skill sets that we have in connecting with people through screens at this point.
Yep. Awesome. Well, obviously there's obstacles and challenges that are out there in anything, and especially in this new, and I know there's a section that, you dive into the obstacles and challenges. Can you go into, just a couple of things that you guys found now that you can give them as, just things that you should really be wary of?
Yeah. So I think some of the big things is the technology components, making sure you have the right setup and the right type of computer in order to do those things. As I mentioned before, making sure you have the right background. You don't want to have a messy background. And then just the other pieces, and this is one thing that we're trying to figure out right now is it's very easy to train somebody in a gym. You know what equipment they have in your facility. You know what you can use. Do you know what your clients have in their home? Do they even have the right equipment? Do you need to be looking at just straight body weight workouts? Your clients are going to be asking you, what equipment should I get? What type of treadmill should I get? The Peloton and get that. They're going to be asking you these questions. So now you need to, if you aren't already, you need to become an equipment expert, but you also need to become a master of training without knowing the full capabilities of the equipment your clients have, being able to make recommendations, but really having to adjust on the fly. Something, again, we've all done, but that I think is one of the biggest obstacles from a programming perspective.
Well, and I would think then, making sure obviously you have the proper intake form, and instead of it just being an intake of, hey, give me your injuries and give me your health history and, give me your goals and all that stuff. It's also, what do you have access to and what do you currently have? And, maybe what are you willing to purchase? And then, obviously a whole nother avenue, if you get big enough and you create the right connections, is affiliate marketing or affiliate, relationships with companies. I know there's some amazing companies out there that are kind of building their benches and they're all in ones. I know Escape Fitness is another one, FitBench I'm seeing. And, that's a whole nother avenue for you to, one, get exactly what you need, but two, also make a couple of bucks on the way.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about a lot of the equipment manufacturers out there, especially in our space, is that several of them live and die on that affiliate model and really taking the fitness professionals as strong advocates for their brand and pushing it down to clients. This is a great opportunity for that secondary income stream to do that, especially if you're really building your online brand and online awareness, trying to go with more of that influencer model and really taking that control of that space. You can get there fairly quickly and fairly easily in order to drive that secondary income stream.
And then there's obviously the pieces of equipment that are so versatile, right? I'm not plugging anything. I'm just saying the TRX is a very easy,
absolutely
fairly cheap. You can get, I was in Best Buy yesterday and you can get them anywhere now. And so there's all that. And just the ability to track, what your clients are actually doing. I think it can also increase as well.
Yes.
So awesome. What other, any other obstacles or challenges that, are kind of highlight, a big picture of what you guys found?
Yeah, the other major pieces are just as much as this is a new area for you that you're going to have to get used to as a professional. Your clients are going to be in the same boat. Mm-hmm. It's going to be brand new for them, trying to figure out new apps, the new technology, get in line with your platform, how your new processes and operations are going. So you are going to have to become an amazing teacher. You're going to have to become patient in order to get your clients up to speed and on board with this new approach for things. So take it as an opportunity for you and your clients to grow together, learn some new things, and kind of figure it out as a unit to maintain that approach with your business.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to make I got to make a little bit of a plug for Lifetime in this one, or, you know, and I'm saying this to any trainer that's out there. Obviously, you know, there's companies, I don't think a lot, I know we're one of them, that actually allow all of this. Like, they will give you access to the platform. They will give you training. You can get discounts through NESM and all these other companies that help train and develop you. We have a digital membership that's launched about a week ago from the time that this airs, or two, in the fact that you can now train anybody anywhere, and even if they're a member or not of the brick and mortar. So, you know, that's all part of, in this industry, us trying to elevate up and really give a great place for people to go. And all of that is complimentary to you. You don't have to actually pay for that. So I won't make that selfish plug for the company, but it's something that I would ask, you know, if I'm interviewing to go and work somewhere, you know, are they giving me those opportunities? Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that those opportunities, as you mentioned, are there, but it also creates some other areas that we just have to be knowledgeable and aware of. Is in this area, in this realm, as you grow this part of your business, borders go away. No longer are you confined to your one club or your one city. Those borders go away. So now what are you going to do with that reach? How can you grow further? Do international borders even exist anymore when it comes to this? So can you start to move your brand internationally? There's a lot of opportunity, but with that opportunity, there are going to be more obstacles that you just have to be aware of.
And you got to have your skill, man. So don't try and go elsewhere until you figure it out on your mom and dad or whomever.
That's right.
I guess that's probably going to be the big headlines, like, practice the skill, man. Come on. All right. You're not going to be great at something you never tried to work on. So, and you're going to fail. Don't worry about that either.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So moving on into, you know, obviously client engagement, and you talked about communication and just coaching strategies. Can you give us some specific tips on, you know, what you found, you know, and obviously if you need a lot more, you can get it into the course, but you know, what have you found? What have you guys found in client engagement and coaching strategies?
It's there. You have to have that single-minded understanding of who you are as a professional for solid engagement. And it goes to kind of some of the stuff that we've already discussed and talked about, but be authentic and true to you, to who you are across the board. If somebody's coming to you and they are highly engaged with your persona on Instagram, and then they come to you in a session and there is a disengagement or a disagreement between who you are in your session and who you are on Instagram, that's going to be a huge problem, because they're coming to you for that person you put out there. So when it comes to client engagement, you have to be true to yourself and true to who you are across the board. And then again, patience is going to be key. Not everybody's going to be ready and willing to jump into this and be ready to go, especially if you work with a lot of older clients. They're going to find this technology hard to work with and work through. So you are going to have that level of patience. And then just the communication is going to be very, very important as well. And it's going to be communication beyond just in the session. I hope everybody's communicating with their clients, even when you aren't seeing them in the gym, but now it's going to become even more important in order to keep them engaged, keep them wanting to come back. As easy as it is, now there's fewer excuses in this realm to miss an appointment with a trainer. But at the same time, because there isn't that personal connection happening every single time, it becomes far easier to find excuses not to show up or just to not be there. So maintaining that good communication at all times is going to be very, very important.
Got it. And I know you had a section on coaching strategies, and can you explain, I guess, what that means and kind of give us an example of one?
Yeah, so we go back to, and I'm sure we're all familiar with this, but motivational interviewing is going to be very important. Your listening skills are going to have to be spot on. So it's more than just the what we do normally in person. You are going to have to become a very active and very engaged listener. And I'd say one of the most important pieces that you are going to have to work on is repeating back to your client for clarity. Continuing to repeat back to them what it is they are saying to make sure you're both on the same page, because that is going to be so important with everything it is that you're doing. And just follow up is going to be key as well. Follow up after your session, follow up before sessions, maintain contact even when you don't have a session planned or coming up, or they're taking a little bit of a break, they're on vacation over the holidays. That's going to be important, whatever way you do it: text, email, social media, direct messaging. It's going to be vital there as well.
Well, and you'd mentioned, to go back to the first thing that you had said is the ability to repeat back what they say. And I think so often when you're in that conversation, whether it's in a consultation on the front end of trying to get the client or working, with them in a session, so often because there's so much that's going on in the mind, you're paraphrasing things. And I think that there's certain things that are okay to paraphrase. And then there's certain things you better not paraphrase, because that will come across like you're not listening. Like if you paraphrase what their goals are or what the goals mean to them, probably not a good idea. You want to write it down exactly the way they said it, because they got a vision in their head, and it's those little things like, oh, you don't want to lose weight. You just want to, get more tone. No, you don't tell somebody what their goals are. Like they've got a vision in their head. That's their motivation. And if you change it, that means you're not listening, even though you might be right, but that's just not something that you want to do. So if you could take that tip home, please make sure you listen and repeat back to them exactly what they say they want to do, without changing it.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the more difficult skills to really build in all types of communication is when we are engaged in a conversation and listening to somebody, we are naturally already thinking about what it is we're going to say in response before they've even finished what they're saying. So it is important to exactly what you said, write it down exactly how they have it in mind, so that you are both on the same page. But don't listen to respond, listen to hear and listen to understand. And that's why if you're slowing down and repeating back to them from a place of wanting to understand, you can both get on the same page. But ultimately, your client is going to feel heard. They're going to feel engaged with you, that you really care, you really want to understand. And it's going to go a long ways, regardless of where it is you're communicating with them from.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I know I had mentioned, and I think maybe, we can probably spend a whole hour on just this next topic, but if you can give some tips, and again, we talked about it a little bit, I think there's some benefits of things that you can't, or things that you can do in a virtual environment that you can't, as it reflects on giving assessments, whether it's a movement assessment or even a consultation virtually, I think is powerful, because again, if they allow you to record it, obviously that you have to make sure they know that you're recording it, then you allow them to record it. You can record the conversation. So now it helps you go back and listen, or, if they say, oh, that wasn't what I said. Well, here's the recording. Not that you ever want to kind of put it in their face that way, but there's things that you can do virtually that are benefit from an assessment standpoint. I think a lot of people think, oh, I can't do any of that. But, what have you guys found in some tips on, doing a virtual assessment, overhead squat or, single leg squat, or whatever the assessment may be that you have in your arsenal?
Yeah, there's areas that become very difficult to do this in, but then there's areas where you have some tools that maybe you haven't used previously that now become major benefits to you and your business as well as your clients. Like when we're talking overhead squat, a couple of different ways that you can approach it. You can give your client the instructions and have them perform it on camera while somebody records. They send you the video, you review it, even prior to your session. So then you can take that away, and it's not even a part of your session. You can get right into more of the meat of what it is you want to do, or you can record them on screen. Either way, one of the benefits, if you haven't been doing that in your live sessions, you can now play that back for your clients and show them, look, this is exactly what I'm seeing. This is what it means. You can start to show them the kinetic chain checkpoints and see where you've got this hip shift, and this is what it means for this and why we're going to approach things this way. You can engage with them more from that perspective. You also have a picture in time to be able to show them improvement over the long haul. So we like to take pictures of clients and show them, this is what you look like before. Now look at how much weight you've lost. Well, now we can do the same thing, or we're going to be forced to do the same thing when it comes to these movement assessments, which is pretty darn cool when you look at everything. And it becomes a new marketing message. Improving people's movement quality and movement patterns. So
and I think, and to add to that, I think too, I've always said it's way easier to get somebody, if you know your stuff, to perform better in an assessment or move better than it is going to be to get them to lose 25 pounds. Let's face it, you can maybe do that in a couple of weeks, and maybe they're frustrated that they're not losing the weight. But if you recorded that and then you have checkups and you continue to come back to it, obviously there's a lot of people that just do it because they feel real cool and it's a sales tool as opposed to, an improvement tool. And now, that, confidence that they get by saying, oh, you know what, I am moving better. Or, you know what, my hip doesn't bother me as much, or whatever the case may be, bring attention to that, that's going to, be a huge, huge piece. And again, you've got it on video now.
Yeah, exactly. So doing that with all of your movement assessments, whatever they may be, overhead squat, single leg squat, push pull, that's going to be huge. The other thing to keep in mind, and this is something that I say, and we're really trying to push forward on more, is any exercise can become an assessment or a movement assessment, and every repetition should be an assessment. So even if you have a client who's performing a standing bicep curl and you want to perform an assessment from there and they're wobbly today, but then a month from now, they're doing the same thing, they're not wobbly anymore. Well, that's a demonstration of their core strength and stability that they've worked on and built up. So a lot of different ways that we can approach that. A couple things that you will have to figure out how to overcome are going to be things like body fat assessments, right? How is it you're going to do that? There's some apps out there that can do that from a video screen. I think Amazon Halo has, with the Halo, they've got something coming out that can do that. But that's going to be something that if it's important to your client, you may have to teach them how to do it for themselves, or encourage them to get an at-home body weight monitor or body fat scale, one of those things to be able to monitor and record that. But that's going to really come down to an individual basis. So still some workarounds, but nothing that can't be done.
Yep. And I think, obviously, the accuracy, it's not about at this point in time, if they need it accurate, then they're going to figure out a way to go find it as accurate as possible. It's a before, in, middle, and after, or whatever the case may be. So as long as you're consistent with the unit that you're using, I think that's a pretty easy one as well.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, a couple other sections and then we'll wrap it up. But, there's obviously session prep that happens when you're, going into a session. A lot of times people are, drinking their coffee and then jumping back, or a shake, or however busy you are. But, obviously in the virtual session prep and instruction, what can you give advice on with regards to what you should be making sure as a bare bones that you're doing?
Yeah, so it's going to be very similar to what it is you're doing in a gym, right? You do have your session prep. You're just going to be doing it in a different way and prepping different things. So definitely you want to make sure you have all your technology checked out. Do you have a quality internet connection? Do you have good video capabilities? Is your sound working? You would hate to lose a session because your internet drops out or you have bad connection. So definitely make sure that you've got those pieces taken care of. The other thing is you want to make sure you have good solid lighting. A lot of people are using ring lights that are out there now to be able to spotlight things.
And they're cheap too.
Yeah, they really are. They've dropped a lot in price. So You can do that. Right now I'm sitting in front of a window, got the windows open, the sun is shining here, so I have a little bit of good lighting. Just be cognizant of that, and then be cognizant of your total setup. What equipment are you going to need for demonstration's sake, and having that on hand, and making sure your clients have it on hand, and then the all important program that you're going to be working through with your client, right? Be ready to go with any modifications that you may have to make if they don't have a particular piece of equipment or they're coming from an injury, whatever the case may be. Once you have the tech set up, the environment set up, then it just becomes your regular training approach and how it is you've always done it.
Yeah. And, I think, again, another topic that just popped into my mind that we might need to cover is, the business, when I say the business aspect of training, but how you can, if you don't have the right internet connection, this is when it comes in, maybe elevate that, but understand that that's something that could become a tax write-off, as you start to go. So there's things that can help you, again, get your taxes down and be able to afford certain things. So obviously that's just a whole nother aspect of being a smart business owner as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things, and this is more personal experiences, we're conducting a lot of these Zoom calls through business, through NASM right now, because we're all out of the office. In so doing, what I found is there are certain times in the day when the internet speed in my neighborhood just completely drops out. So be cognizant of that. If there are times when internet speed is just dragging because everybody in your neighborhood is all online at the same time, don't schedule any clients for that point in time. Say that I block out for here and use that for some of your other business admin stuff. So just think through all of that.
I always say set the expectation, right? If the expectation, hey, this is a time that, obviously internet might be an issue on your end or my end, just understand if we're going to train at this time, something like that may happen. I think sometimes we're afraid to talk about things and you get it out there. Well, that's awesome. Well, can you, I guess now to, just plug a little bit of the course. Obviously we talked about most of the things we talked about really are in really the first one or two chapters or groupings of the course. And it goes into a lot of other areas. Wouldn't you mind, just letting us know, what else, is involved in, what other education they can get
Yeah, so there's a lot that we've wrapped up into this course, and this is going to be one of our most, we call it iterative, but one of our most dynamic courses from the perspective, we're always going to be looking to update it. Technology is moving very, very quickly, and a course like this is going to have to keep up with it as you all can, as fitness professionals, continue to get creative with your approaches and how you're taking things on. We want to make sure we're reflecting that within our course and keeping it up to date. But as far as what you can expect in it is everything from technology setup. We're going to tell you what you need specifically from a computer and a computer processor, what kind of camera is going to be best. We'll be able to walk you through that. We're going to talk to you about the best business practices when it comes to virtual coaching, how you can build that business, how you can look at not just one-on-one sessions, but group sessions in a virtual environment, and how it is you can best approach that perspective. We touched on a little bit on assessments. We do dive into the social media side of things. The other piece that's really, really important for us in this environment is the utilization of wearables and wearable technology. And what does that mean to your clients? And how do you best leverage that in this particular case? So we've also got information on wearables in there, different types of apps. Hopefully for you as a professional, it's a one-stop shop to get in and lay the groundwork for a successful business, whether you're just kicking off your career or you're looking to transition into this space, or you're looking for more of a hybrid opportunity to be able to provide to your clients. We are going to lay that groundwork for you.
Got it. And as the iterations occur, is that something that the person who purchases the course will continually get, or do you know if there's going to be an upgrade fee for that or how that works?
Yeah, so it will be something that you continue to receive updates on. So
Nice.
that's really what we're looking for
Awesome.
as we continue to go forward. I can't promise that if there are significant improvements that there won't be, you know, a advanced package that you can purchase to get some of those things.
Got it.
But when we look to look down the short-term pathway and the next iteration we're going to have of it, yeah, that will be included for all of those who have already purchased. So we want to make sure that we're keeping you up to date with the most relevant information so that you can be successful in what it is you're doing.
That's awesome. Well, you know, I can't thank you enough for your time and, you know, just the quickness of you getting something like this out, because it's so needed, and hopefully a lot of people take advantage of it. You know, obviously if you're a lifetime trainer, you get a significant discount, 40 plus or somewhere in that ballpark. So, if you're interested, you know, please make sure you let your people know. Outside of that, you know, obviously they're having specials and, you know, that kind of stuff that you can look on the NESM website. But you know, what anything else that you have that you want to leave, you know, the audience with?
No, it really just comes down to we're in a new space now as fitness professionals, and we can either leverage the technology, leverage where it is we are at, and look towards the future and how it is we're going to continue to change the world, or we can sit idly by and watch as it all passes us. So this is a moment of truth for us all, and I think, like I said, is we got to be able to take it by the horns and drive this forward, or it's going to drive us. So take the opportunity and run with it.
Awesome. Well, again, I want to thank Jill for connecting us, Jill Travis, and, you know, it's been great. And I'm sure we're probably going to, you know, do some more of this and get into some more depth. So I really appreciate it. Thank you to you, Mike, the whole NESM crew. And, you know, obviously the education that you guys have evolved and have gone through, you know, it's changed a lot of people's perspective on how to look at training, and definitely want to thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I look forward to chatting with you again very, very soon.
Yep, absolutely. It's funny, we're doing this in Arizona. We're probably not even 4 miles away from each other right now, but you know, that's how it is these days. So
next time we can do it in the same room, maybe.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. So thanks again, Ian. Really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll chat soon, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you.